Delphox is hands down the Pokemon that is the strongest pick after the most recent patch, mainly because of the new item, the Curse Incense. Increasing that anti-healing effect that you have got makes this Pokemon absolutely menacing, especially when you are pushing a goal zone. The enemy's healing effects are pretty much nullified when you pop that Unite move and you've got that Curse Incense. As well as that, the mobility of Delphox has always been super strong. You can use this Pokemon in the top lane, you can use it in the bottom lane, and you can use it in the jungle. The moveset specifically I'm going to be talking over is Mystical Fire and Flame Charge. I think this moveset is incredibly strong, especially once you hit level 13. If you're not sure how this moveset works, absolutely stick around during this video because I'm going to explain in great detail why it is incredibly broken. Flame Charge is essentially the eject button that can do some damage every single couple of seconds, so absolutely incredible Pokemon. The build you want to use is a Spoon, an Energy Amp, and a Curse Incense. You want to make sure that you're using an eject button as your battle item. Let's talk through the laning phase with Delphox. Ideally, you want to take Delphox to the bottom lane because this lane has got the most experience. Your big power spikes are at level 7, level 6, and level 9, but the big one is level 11, and this is simply how his moves work. So let's talk through the early game first. Ember is a really decent move for securing farm. Let me just put that straight out there, right? Will-O-Wisp does not do that much burst damage. Ember does amazing burst damage, so do not let that discount, right? You can see I secured that farm there, right? It can do really well. Now you want to use your eject in the early game to make sure that you don't die. Typically you're doing that eject towards your pad, and in the late game you're pretty much using it with some mobility. So early game, you've got to play it smart. You're focusing on the farm. You're never really looking to score unless if it's absolutely free. In this case, my jungler has come down and it is a Mewtwo, and that is why I have gone in for the score there. Always focus farm until you've hit your level 7 because that will give you the mobility to have, have some fights in the lane. Right, so you can see there's some bees up. I've managed to make sure that I stay alive because if you're alive, you're still able to get some farm in and you've got some presence during that lane. So a little bit fortunate there that my jungler has come down. That helps me and my teammate get online a little sooner. Early game with Delphox, you're just focusing the farm, right? You've got to hit those power spikes. You evolve at level 4 and at level 6, but Delphox doesn't really come online until that level 11 mark, right? So as you can see, all I'm doing is I'm focusing on getting this farm and using that Ember to secure. I want to make sure that I'm drawing this Indeedee into the bush as much as I can, but I can see I've got vision, so I'm just trying to burst down that farm as quickly as possible. Emblems wise, you want to be using the cooldown reduction emblems, and if you manage to get this blue buff, that is absolutely amazing, right? The blue buff with the cooldown emblems, with Delphox, with the Energy Amp, and you pop that Unite move every 2 seconds as is, you're going to be doing incredible work. So early game, focus your farm, and you can defend some pads fairly decently with Delphox. Okay, but you've got to play this early game smart. You've got to make sure that you're staying on par with the enemy, or you are not, or you're getting ahead, right? You do not want to let the enemy get ahead of you. Now, in this bottom lane, I'm versing a Mystical Fire Sylveon. There's no way I'm going to be picking fights here, right? Because he can decrease, what he's able to do is he's decreasing my special attack if he locks onto me, so that would be silly of me. Now I'm going to break down some mechanics of using Flame Charge and Mystical Fire with this move combination, because this is really important to understand. You can see when I launch off the Mystical Fire, I can use Flame Charge in any direction. I can move myself in a 360 direction. Now this is where the skill cap of Delphox comes in. You use that Mystical Fire, and then you use the Flame Charge to follow up. You can use it to redirect the direction of your Mystical Fire. You can use it to follow up on an enemy, so you're dashing towards them. You can use it to dash away. But think of this as up and down will redirect, and forward will chase the enemy, and backward will take you further away from the enemy. However, the skill cap comes in when you're able to use it diagonally. You use it to jump over walls while you're in the middle of using that Mystical Fire. Because when you dash, you can see it's going to change where your Mystical Fire was going to originally land. Now, as well as that, the secure of Mystical Fire and Flame Charge is actually pretty decent, so make sure you're trying to get those off in a combination. Now, This Unite move comes back every couple of seconds and is probably one of the best Unite moves in the game right now, in my opinion. It locks with a big AoE, it does anti-healing to the enemy, and as well as that, it slows them down when they are in that zone. So whenever you have this Unite move and you see some enemies, you pretty much just want to use it, right? Because it's gonna go back on cooldown, and you don't want it just sitting there not doing anything. So once you get that first objective, and once you've hit your level 9, you've got that Unite move, your next big focus is level 11. You pretty much want to avoid fighting until you can hit that level 11, or unless if you know that your team's going to be in the fight and they're in it to win it, right? In my opinion, it is absolutely best practice to farm until you have hit your level 11. I'll explain why. When you hit level 11 with Mystical Fire, what you're able to do is every time your Mystical Fire lands, it will reduce the cooldown of both of your skills by 1.5 seconds. This is really, really good because it means every time you hit that skill, you're pretty much going to be able to follow up and do it again. Now, this is great when you're trying to kite the enemy, and in terms of you're attacking them while you're getting away, and it also helps you execute with follow-up kills, and it's also just a great skill shot. If you are using this, you can redirect with that flame charge to hit the enemy. So Delphox, incredible pick. Honestly, I would just take this Pokemon in practice mode, and I would try and hit all the farm by redirecting my Mystical Fires and my flame charges. You can see I was able to hit that Venusaur there. Incredible, incredible, fun move. Now you can see that there's a big AoE of enemies. I am able to launch my Unite move off on there. I am missing some of my skills there, but as you can see, when I follow up and hit the enemy, that a cooldown of Mystical Fire and Flame Charge pretty much just it's instantly back ready to use when you use that Unite move, right? And the reason this is working is because the Unite move gives you cooldown reduction. You've got an energy ant which gives you cooldown reduction, and I'm using an emblem set that gives me cooldown reduction. And when you land that Mystical Fire, you can see it's reducing the cooldown of both moves when you hit it. This is regardless of whether you hit it on farm or on the enemy, and this makes just chasing down the enemies really, really good. You can see this Eldegoss has to use the Unite move to escape, and even then it's pretty suboptimal of him, right? So it's really, really strong. You can see here I'm able to actually follow up and hit that Eldegoss because it's reducing those cooldowns. I use that Flame Charge to redirect, and I'm able to pick up the KO there, right? So I'm putting a lot of pressure on this bottom lane while my team is putting a Regieleki into the top lane, right? And I've got that eject button, and I've got that Flame Charge to get away, so the enemies are going to have a very hard time chasing you down. Now, level 13 is also an amazing power spike because Flame Charge Plus, what that move will do is it'll increase your movement speed by 30% whenever you use the move, which is really, really good. It's like having an X speed for a couple of seconds while you have just used that skill. So it's really, really strong. That's what you want to make sure you have got by the end game. It makes that Rayquaza fight incredibly good, right? You can see I've got 50 seconds until Rayquaza, and I'm absolutely going to be using my Unite move there because I know that with a little bit of farm, I'm able to get that Unite move back, and I'm able to get a lot of value from killing the enemy team. Right, so you can see this is a big skill shot. I missed that Mystical Fire there, and if I hit the enemy Sylveon, I probably would have been able to kill him, right? Because I would have had those cooldowns a little sooner. So it's a skill shot. You can practice it. Delphox has infinite skill cap, right? You've just got to make sure that you are aware of what's going on, right? In this particular game, at this particular time, I'm making sure that I've got my Unite move ready to go. It's at about 60% charge, but with a little bit of farm, with maybe just 1 or 2 more Baltoy, I'm going to be able to get it. And you can see I've got some bees there. I get a lot of those, which is very fortunate, and now I've got that Unite move ready to go for this Rayquaza fight. Now I can see the enemies fighting from top. I get that redirection. I miss my Mystical Fire there, so I use that Unite move because that's going to take the time, able to get that cooldown up again, catch the enemy in their choke point, and pretty much all 5 of them go down because they've got anti-healing effect as well as a slowdown, and my team's able to follow up and get the kill on the enemy. So Delphox, incredibly strong pick. You can take it, in my opinion, works best in the bottom lane or in the jungle, but you've got to make sure you're focusing your macro properly and you are landing those skills. It's absolutely super important and super vital. You can see that the damage you can launch off in either game is really, really good. If you got some value out of this video, please make sure you drop it a like. You consider being a subscriber, because on the Unite Climbing Guide, we like to put out some teachable content that helps you win some more games and play better games of Pokemon Unite. Click on one of these videos that's on the screen and have a very good day, everyone. See you later.